This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you have an immigration problem, get in touch with me and I'll do my best to help. Today I'm going to be talking about the disturbing news regarding the increasing visa delays which are causing rent, employment and healthcare issues. With the 10th anniversary of the government's hostile environment imposing greater penalties for landlords and employers who fail to conduct immigration checks, it is pertinent to consider those that have been metaphorically left by the wayside while they wait for the Home Office to process their application. And as we all know, that list is getting longer. At present, the Home Office have a propensity for blaming the ongoing delay on the shifting of priorities to process Ukrainian visas and asylum applications, as well as employing the exhausted excuse of a backlog created by the COVID pandemic. The truth of the matter is that delays are now so bad that applications that ought to have been considered from start to finish within 6 months a couple of years ago are taking well over a year on average. Please note that some of my clients have been waiting over 2 or even 3 years. In fact, I had one client recently who was waiting 4 years for a decision on his asylum claim. Many of these applicants, other than asylum seekers, will have Section 3C leave. They'll have made the application in time. This part of the Immigration Act 1971 does give continues the rights of the individual to remain in the United Kingdom. However, outside the individual immigration practitioners and lawyers, this Section 3C is not really understood. This often causes understandable issues with employers, academic environments and landlords who refuse or are unaware how to carry out the relevant checks and demand that the candidate provide a valid immigration document, whereas they don't really need to because of Section 3C. Far too often my clients encounter issues as a result of these delays, as a result of their Section 3C status. Employers are often reluctant to carry out checks on behalf of a viable candidate and will more often than not opt for a candidate who actually has a BRP than someone with Section 3C leave. In truth, a candidate's immigration status is not considered a protected characteristic under the Equality Act 2010, and so an employer is completely within their rights to make decisions on this basis. This further adds to the lack of protections for individuals with this type of leave. So you can make your application with valid leave. It will continue in law, so you're in the country lawfully under the same conditions. You may end up waiting 1.5 years. You will not have a BRP or anything given to you, and your landlord or employer can sack you or not give you somewhere to live, and you have no recourse against your landlord or employer on that basis because it's not a protected right. It is also not going to notice that there are some extant government delays in processing the right to work checks themselves. So not only if you can persuade your employer to actually carry out the check, the chances are, or the possibilities are, that the government won't have updated their own records. So therefore there needs to be protections put in place for individuals with Section 3C leave in respect of this massive increase in the processing time for visa applications. Clearly the situation is getting worse. I'm not quite sure where the government is focusing the money that it spends on the Home Office. I remember doing a video a little while ago which showed that some 390 million was spent on immigration enforcement action. And if you look at the figures of the number of people removed, it's not more than a couple of thousand people a year, which doesn't really make that an effective use of government money. Probably too busy giving out huge sums of money, billions of pounds to their friends for defective PPE equipment. But only a cynic would say that, and of course I'm not a cynic. I'm sorry to report the ongoing visa delays, both in respect of asylum, which causes huge amounts of problems, particularly when most asylum seekers are now recognised as being refugees, and also the problems for people that are here lawfully under Section 3C, who often stand to lose their jobs and their right to live and have no recourse. The government needs to do something firstly about the Section 3C leave and the individuals that are in the United Kingdom because they are here lawfully, and secondly the government needs to do something about speeding up the asylum process rather than leaving people hanging around for years and years and years. A disturbing video, but one that points to a trend which is, as we've seen with the exit of Liz Truss, points to a government that is in absolute chaos and immigration may well slide down the agenda as people more focus on, rather than the few migrants also that cross the channel, on the actual economic difficulties of actually living day to day in the United Kingdom. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you've got an immigration problem, please get in touch with me and I'll do my best to help you. Thank you again. This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers. This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers. Thank you for tuning in. If you've got an immigration problem, please get in touch with me and I'll do my best to help you. Today, I'm just commenting on the collapse of Liz Truss's government following the department of Suella Braverman, the previous shortest Secretary of State for the Home Department. The last one lasted only 30 days, but his excuse for leaving the job was probably better than hers. Sadly, he died rather than her jumping ship before she was pushed, or for whatever reason it was, using her personal email. Something she ought to have known, bearing in mind the fact that she is a barrister, that it's not particularly the good idea. But what's the purpose of this video? Well, at the moment we've now got another Conservative leadership party election. There's not likely to be a general election, because if there is, the Conservative Party are likely to be in a minority, which in effect could be a good thing, because a new government coming in, if they have any sense, would be looking at an amnesty, or looking at some way of getting rid of the backlog or dealing with the immigration problem. And given that it's got so large, it seems to me that only an amnesty could be the only way forward. A targeted amnesty, not something to reward people that have arrived yesterday, but people that have been in the country for a long period of time. Maybe, perhaps, the new Conservative Prime Minister may actually step back from this, and now we've got the cost of living crisis and the increase in mortgages, maybe then they will actually take a more pragmatic approach to migration. The country needs migrants, despite what Suella Braverman says about having dreams about people being flown off to Rwanda. And I can imagine why she has such dreams. After all, they've paid the Rwandan government £120 million for nothing. If I was the Rwandan government, I'd be overjoyed. And if I was the taxpayer, which I am, I'm not really very happy that someone's been paid, or a government's been paid £120 million for receiving exactly 0 asylum seekers. And given the current state of the United Kingdom, there isn't really any chance of anyone being removed to Rwanda in the near future, or indeed at all. So, what will be the policy of the new Prime Minister? I was going to say Secretary of State, but they keep changing almost as much as the Prime Minister. Well, one would hope that the new Secretary of State actually does step back, look at the problems that there are, and consider that now is the time to actually, rather than try to crack down and be even more right-wing and anti-migrant, to actually look at the situation from a more humane and economic manner, and think, well, actually the UK needs migrants. There are a lot of them that are in the United Kingdom. We're never going to remove them. So perhaps we should let them stay in the United Kingdom. If I was a new Prime Minister, it would certainly be one way of dealing with it, and it could be dealt with on the basis that the government, the vast majority of the population are more concerned probably with their mortgages and costs of living, on whether people are arriving on small boats or whether people have been living in the United Kingdom for a long time. So it might be that the overall chaos that the government have caused does provide a new Prime Minister and a new Secretary of State with the opportunity of addressing the asylum backlog and the immigration backlog and the overstayers in a more humane manner, without drawing lots of adverse news headlines and right-wing neoliberal, you call them what you want, idiots like Farage and what have you, going down to Dover with his, I think someone described them as Fisher-Price binoculars and filming people coming off the boats. So perhaps, given the fact that the government have really screwed up the country, and there is a need for migrants, the government will, or the new government, or the new Prime Minister and the new Secretary of State will take a more humane approach. In fact, only time will tell, and of course I will update you. This is again I hope that something happens. I hope they actually take stock, look at what the mess they've made, and look at the fact that with government cuts there is no real prospect of removing people, and that they need to get on with doing the job of essentially dealing with people in the UK, processing applications, processing asylum claims quickly, and doing it in a humane, fast manner. And the starting point has got to be some form of amnesty to recognise the number of people that are in this country, working, contributing to the United Kingdom, and getting them regularised. Next, it has to be asylum seekers. I think about 76% ultimately succeed, so therefore there's no excuse for them making them wait 4 years before they get a decision. And lastly, the people that are on Section 3C leave, that whilst they enjoy their Section 3C leave, they are actually able to enjoy it properly, because as I've said in a previous video or following video, that actually they can't. So a new Prime Minister, a new approach, perhaps an amnesty, who knows? Keep watching and I'll keep you posted. Thank you very much for watching. This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers.